Do you love bass? I know I do. And today it's a great day. I'm going to get to talk to my favorite bass player. In fact, probably the reason I'm a bass player today. I'm also fortunate to call him a good friend of mine. He's a legendary musician from a legendary band, but he's got a lot of other talents aside from music. And we're going to talk about some of that today. I'd like you to meet my good friend and everybody's favorite bass player, Roger Glover. Hey man, how you been feeling, brother?
Oh, God. Old age creeps up
It does have a way of sneaking up on us all. Where are you now? What country are you in?
in Germany. I'm in Hamburg.
Oh my goodness. Well, Germany's a big country for you.
Well, we use a studio here. Ian Gillan and I are working on vocals, and next week we fly to Toronto
Oh my! Oh, for to be with Bob.
to be with Bob.
Yeah, I heard he moved back lock, stock, and barrel to Canada.
Yeah, he did. And after that, I mean, I go home for exactly 2 nights before we go to Tbilisi in Georgia, and then Dubai, and then Kuala Lumpur.
Well, it's a global thing. You know, you're a global artist, and you're in a global band, and this is just like taking the bus probably by now. But it does
Yeah.
make me want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
You travel all over the place, obviously for your job, but you also do it for like enjoyment. You're a citizen of the world. When you run into a person in your travels, like in Africa or someplace where you're not on the job, and someone says, "Well, what do you do? What do you like to say?"
Oh, good question. I don't always like to say that I'm a musician. Are you in a band? Yes. And then it comes out, and things then change when you say Deep Purple,
Right.
because either they start shaking or they go, who? But I'd rather be just an individual rather than, anyone that's known. I'd rather be just a human being like them.
What else would you say if you had the chance to say something that was not musician?
I usually say, yeah, I'm in the music business, production, something like that. Some, overarching description of what I do. It's true, but
Right. But
it's it's
you have so many interests, wouldn't you say?
yeah. Well, I'm interested in lots of things. Anything creative, photography, painting, writing, music. It's all part of the same process, actually.
So painting, for example, you've been a painter forever, right? You've always enjoyed drawings and paintings.
Yeah.
Where would you see the corollary or the match between painting, for example, and music?
If you're creative, you're open to all kinds of stimuli, and you can paint with the sound as much as you can paint with paint. It's a very similar thing. You can paint with words. Same way. That's why I said it's all part of the if you're a creative person, you can probably do pretty much anything you want to do. Whether you do it well or not, that's a whole other matter. But.
I personally wake up with music in my head, like I'm hearing a recording that hasn't been made, but I can hear it as if it had been. Do you find yourself doing the same thing with other media when you're, let's say you're imagining an image, or let's say you see something and you think, man, I would like to paint that. Do you already visualize what you might be doing before you start?
I I do actually. I sometimes dream about doing a painting, and I can see the painting in my dream. And when I wake up, of course, I can't remember it, but I do remember dreaming about a painting. And I do sometimes thinking about music, but mostly in the shower. That's a great place to, because you can't do anything else. And of course, the secret then is to get out of the shower and try and get it down on a tape before you forget it. The white noise is like an encyclopedia.
Hmm.
You got all the words there. You just got to sort them out.
And do you find as a painter that when you think of coming up with one of these, these paintings or these ideas, do you think as far as what kind of media would you use? Would you use oil? Would you use watercolor? Would you use a certain kind of brush? Do you think in terms of I'm going to grab a whatever, I don't even know what you call the things, and I'm going to use that to get this thing that I see in my mind?
Hmm. No, I don't think like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think the overriding emotion that goes through when you've got an idea is, are you doing it for its own sake, or are you doing it because you want to be noticed or make it
Ah,
successful or commercial
right.
or making money? That to me, that's a big difference between those things.
Mm-hmm.
And I tend to think that I've been very lucky that I don't have to write jingles for a living. That I can just write music that it comes out of me,
Right.
and it's for its own sake. And I mean, I write a lot of stuff that I'd never release,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe some of it I will release one day. I realized that when I was younger, I was trying to be successful, and the older you get, the less you feel that need,
Right.
especially if you've been successful in some way or other. Anyway, that maybe helps.
It doesn't hurt. I do think that at a certain point, at least in my experience, that success becomes defined by the fact that you get to do what you want.
Yes, it's a hobby that takes over your life.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly when I was a teenager, I'm old enough to know what the birth of rock and roll,
Yeah.
and that lit something in me. Um, I just loved it. I didn't know why I liked it. I was fascinated by how did people come up with these things, especially how do people write songs because they sound so perfect.
Yeah.
What goes into them, and of course that's the curiosity
Right.
and that takes over your life.
Did you ever have a point, Roger, when you were listening to songs as a young person and then thinking, I'd like to make a song, and then realizing I can make a song? When did
Yeah.
you feel like I want to make my own expression in terms of songs as opposed to I want to learn how to play the popular song that I love on the radio, for example?
Well, I was 10, I think, when rock and roll happened, and
Mm-hmm.
by the time I was 13, I was really into the Everly Brothers
Right.
and things like that. And the first song I wrote is really a pastiche of that style,
Mm-hmm.
halfway between "Bye Bye Love" and something else from the Everly Brothers. I can't remember now.
Right.
It was called "Sit and Cry," and I can still sing it.
Huh.
I was so proud that I actually managed to write a song.
Right.
And I think that's the point. I can't remember the exact age I was, but it was somewhere between 13 and 14. Yeah,
Right. One of the groups that inspired you early on was the Everly Brothers. Um, Wake Up Little Susie, Bye Bye Love. They had so many great songs.
yeah.
And then you wrote your song. Were you thinking, I want to make a song like the Everly Brothers did? Were you thinking of a similar style? Or did that just send you off on a different tangent, but knowing that you could write your own song?
Well, I certainly was influenced by it, and I wanted to sound like they would. It's a kind of song they would sing.
Mm,
Um, but of course, you couldn't write a song that they would sing because you have to be. It has to be your own song.
right.
But there's a sort of style. I mean, it's the early days. You copy your heroes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a transition from copying your heroes to eventually your heroes copying you.
Yeah.
That takes about, 10, 15, 20 years or so.
Right. So what would make you want to write a song today? What would make you feel like I feel like writing a song? Like you said, right now you guys are working on lyrics and you're working on vocals and things like that. What makes you feel like this would be a good thing to write?
Ian Gillan and I have been writing songs together since 1965, 66. And it comes from either conversations we have, things we read in the newspaper, things people say, old girlfriends, new girlfriends, just stuff. It's got to the point now with this album where Ian is really expressing himself more than just the two of us. I'm playing sort of second fiddle,
Mm-hmm.
because he writes about things that, as he said today, they're all true. And he's one of the lines in one of the songs is about an owl hooting from the kumquat tree.
Wow.
That's a lyric,
Right.
you know. Now I go, huh? He said, it's true. So he's just exploring his own lifestyle, if you like,
Right.
his own experiences. So I can't write like that. If I wrote like that, I'd be making it up. That's
Right.
not.
But it's true to him, as in true to life. Like
Yeah.
this is something he saw.
Well, he's a storyteller, and he wants to tell a story. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't want to preach to anyone. He just wants
Right.
to describe something.
Right.
Whereas I tend to be more emotional, introvert, and talk about my own insecurities and feelings,
Mm-hmm.
which may or may not be of interest to anyone else.
Well,
But
evidently it is.
he's not like his feelings come out in a whole different way. He's not. If he's writing any kind of love song, it's not sloppy.
Right.
He has a way of writing that it gets the emotion across, but without sounding like a get well card.
Hallmark presents
Exactly.
kind of thing. Well, yeah, and that goes to show you. I mean, that's a great example of what you're talking about. How there's more than one way to express oneself, but there's so many styles of writing. There's so many styles of creating. You're two both equally experienced musicians, writers, creators, but you approach a song from you might approach a lyric from one way, and obviously he is coming from a different way, but somehow you're combining into this song. How do you feel about collaborative creativity? Because that is obviously very different than individual.
It all depends on who your collaborator is.
Mm-hmm.
No, you've got to be honest.
Right.
If you're not honest, then you're not getting anywhere.
Right.
Uh, and I think that's a question of accident. Sometimes you meet people that you just connect with, and sometimes you don't.
Right.
Whether it's writing a song or making love, it's the same
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Right. Now, what about live performance? Where do you see the creativity in live performance? I mean, there are some bands that appear to be going basically through the exact same motions every time, and there are others who somehow each time they hear it or you play it, it feels like a new experience. Where does that come from, and how does that happen in your life, in your experience?
That happens a lot, actually, especially with a song like "Smoke on the Water."
Mm,
It's a very simple song. Everyone knows it,
right.
and I get asked quite a lot, "Aren't you tired of playing that?" And I'll say, "No, I'm not,
Yeah.
because I don't listen to it from my perspective. I listen to it from the audience's perspective. There's people out there that maybe it's the first time they've ever heard it live.
Right.
Put myself in their position, and also although it's a simple song, in fact, because it's a simple song, you can move around a bit.
Right.
I never play the same bass part. It's very similar,
Right.
but every now and again, you can have a bit of fun with it, and it doesn't alter things. It just makes it more interesting for you.
Right.
But it's the audience's feeling that I get most from that.
Even where you stand on stage at a particular moment might make it feel different, I would think.
The magic thing about playing live is that time gets diminished into microseconds. You're so alive
Yeah.
that you're never as alive until you're on stage, and you're very much alive to it. You're aware of the other musicians, the audience, the lights, the sound, your own playing. It happens so quickly and instantly. You end up relying on instinct
Mm.
and hoping you get away with it.
There is a lot to take in. You're right when
Yeah.
you're on stage. And I do agree with you about the feeling alive when you're playing. I mean,
Yeah, I'm sure you know that.
I've been playing my whole life too, just like you, and I always tell my wife, I said, at 8:30, I sometimes still get that itchy feeling like I should be getting ready to go go on somewhere, because it is very different. I mean, as much as I enjoy being in the studio or other things, there's something about the the communal experience, the
Yeah.
communal experience with the band, but also band and audience, you know, and
Yeah,
and
we did a tour, I think 2012,
mm-hmm,
with a 40-piece orchestra,
mm,
but it wasn't a classical orchestra. It was like a jazz orchestra.
oh,
And it was a great experience because I remember feeling that I wasn't in a 5-piece band anymore. I was in a 45-piece band.
right, yeah,
We gelled. I mean, some of the older musicians are a bit slow on the uptake and
mm-hmm.
kind of lackadaisical feel about it, but they were really on the ball, and it was just a magical experience.
That's wonderful. Now, did you travel with those musicians or did you have to pick up new musicians in every city?
No, we traveled with those musicians.
Oh, wow.
We've done other tours. I mean, we did in 2000, we toured around the world with the concerto. And there we used different orchestras. In Japan, we had a different orchestra to Brazil,
Right.
and in Europe we had a different orchestra. Yeah, but it's all on the notes. As long as they can play the notes, it's pretty much the same.
Well, it's a
You have it.
different sound. It's a very different sound. There's nothing like the sound of an orchestra. And if you can get the sound system all compatible with the acoustics of that kind of thing while still having a rock band, it's a glorious sound.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the early days. It was difficult because even if you turned down a guitar chord, could wipe out an entire string section.
Yeah.
Playing too loud, and but we're down. So it did improve. I mean, the the technique of doing it has improved.
But it
Because
is it is a wonderful sound. I did some concerts with Ringo a few years back where I was music director for him, and we had a huge orchestra in Liverpool. It was like a 101-piece orchestra there for this particular event. It was like that year was Liverpool was the International City of Culture, and so they had everyone who had been born in Liverpool, like who were still around, like and they all played some songs from their past hits, and then Ringo did a whole set. But it's always great to have that sound, and in the studio, it's great to record orchestras too. It is a different sound, but it's like having like your painting that you were discussing before. Having an orchestra is like having a lot more colors in your crayon box, to that you can shade in along with all the tonality that you have with the rock band. Everyone knows you as a bass player, but I know you play other things. But when you are playing the bass, where does creativity come in there in terms of sound, just the overall sound of your instrument? Because when you play your bass, it doesn't always sound like the exact same sound all the time. You're actively doing things, and for the timbre, the tone, the attack of it to change. What do you feel leads you to how you're going to approach that instrument, depending on what you're playing?
well, it's a jigsaw puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
You got to find out where you fit.
Mm-hmm.
If everyone's playing the same note, it doesn't sound very interesting.
Right.
And the same process, if your frequencies are different, it's much more difficult when you're playing with an organist like John Lord, who's got more frequencies than you've got as a bass player. You find ways to do it. It's again, it's instinct. It just you do what makes you feel comfortable, what you think is working.
Right.
I don't think about it that much. In fact, thought destroys it.
Are you talking about note choice though, or are you talking about tonality?
Everything,
Mm,
everything. So, I mean, I learned a lot by listening to the meters.
yes.
Hey, pock away. Yeah,
Hmm.
there's a bass note about every 5 minutes. It's important.
Right.
With hard rock, it's a bit more difficult. You can't play like with. like the meters do.
Right.
But the same thing applies. You less is more, you know.
Right.
Air is good.
You mentioned Smoke on the Water before, and I remember asking you long ago about the bass tone that you got for the studio recording, and how part of it came out of a malfunction of equipment. Correct?
Yeah, I always thought it was distorted too much.
Mm-hmm.
No, I was a big fan of American music, which all came out with gorgeous bass feelings, and I'm sitting there playing, and it's going on crunch, 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 and
Right.
well, I was unhappy with it. But 25 years after we recorded that, I remember doing the remix,
Mm-hmm.
and for the first time, I listened to the solo of the bass on it, and sure enough, I said to the engineer, I said, I used to hate this sound. He said, "Yeah, people would give their left arm to get a sound like that these days."
That's
But
true. It's true.
you change your tastes, I guess. I don't know why it was distorted. It was a pretty good speaker system, but
Right.
it was all Marshall in those days.
Why did you
I
go?
don't
What
know.
made you go with it anyway? I mean, did you just say we don't have much time, or did you just say this is working, or how did you? I mean, I know you felt like you didn't like the sound.
Oh, we didn't have time to think.
Mm,
Especially in after the fire, we had
right.
3 weeks, which immediately cut down to 2 weeks, which is immediately cut down to less than 2 weeks,
Wow.
which is why we used an outtake of the first song we did, which actually turned out to be "Smoke on the Water." It wasn't even going to be on the album.
Yeah. Yeah.
but, but that's a whole other story. But yeah, we were just banging them down as quickly as we could.
I've always had a saying: if it takes too long, you're doing it wrong. I think that there is something to be said for just jumping into the moment and going with what's happening. Especially, it's interesting though that you just said, and I think for anybody who's interested in creativity, I think what you just said is really meaningful in that you went for it. You didn't have much time. You were just in the moment, and you played the cards you were dealt. Like you said, creativity is coming from within. It's inside you, and at that moment, you just did what you did.
Yeah.
Um, do you think that as you've been playing more and more over the years, do you feel that your creative ability has changed in some way? Do you feel like it's easier, more challenging, a different process of accessing those ideas?
Well, two things. One, I think there's a saying I heard once. It's how true it is. The older I get, the better I was, because I listened to what I was playing when I was a teenager, when I was in my 20s. The early years of Purple, and I'm playing things I couldn't play that now. I lose that dexterity.
Hmm.
So I'm very aware of that.
Yeah.
But I'm also aware that the red light fever.
Mm.
If there's no red light on and I'm just having fun, I play things that I couldn't play. And as soon as the red light goes on, you're more careful because
Mm.
it's for posterity.
Right.
And that kind of kills that kind of instinct of making it up as you go along, having fun.
Yeah.
F- Fun's an important part of playing, I think.
Hmm.
And especially writing. You got to have fun writing. We're also a witty band. We write lyrics that are interesting,
Right.
and we do that on purpose. Both
Hmm.
Gillen and I do crosswords a lot, so words have lots of different meanings for us, and
Right.
so we play with them. It's fun to do.
Well, your audience likes that too. I mean, I think that's one of the things they like about the band. I mean, it's the music, of course, but it's also the fact that you have something to say and you say it in a clever way. I think there is something to be said for that, and I think that's for a lot of people. I think that's what makes a song worth listening to year after year, and not just get, well, I used to like that, and I put it on the shelf now, because there's still something in there. There's something meaningful in the lyrics as well as the music.
Yeah, I
I
think
mean,
most people don't actually listen to the lyrics, but
you'd be
yeah,
surprised. You
It's for
know?
those people that do that we yeah,
Yeah.
that's we have fun for. It's the interesting project you've got going here, of this, creativity.
I've always loved movie music, and you remember Paul Buckmaster. We worked together with him on Bananas on that one song, on a couple of songs actually, on Haunted and also Contact Lost. And, when I first came to California, I was his composer assistant. That was my first like steady job. What I learned from Paul was the technique of one instrument at a time, one note at a time. Instead of playing a chord that sounds like a string section, first do the first violin, then the second violin, and the viola and the horns and all of that. So it really, when it plays back, everything's on its own track and it sounds big.
Paul, the past master of that, he could make a quartet sound bigger just by the way he placed the different notes,
Absolutely,
and they were
absolutely,
thick. He was always there were thick, meaty parts.
right,
They weren't the high note, things like in the 50s,
right.
really, it was solid. And as a matter of interest, the first record I ever produced was in 1972,
Hmm.
and Paul Buckmaster was on it.
No kidding.
Yeah, Paul
Wow.
Buckmaster and Peter Robinson.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, they stayed friends forever.
yeah, I
Um,
know.
yeah, Paul, truly a special person, and he really, he's a cello player, but he really actually, it was the darndest thing. He could actually play the orchestra like he was playing an instrument. And
Yeah.
I remember there was an album by the Counting Crows that came out several years ago, and there was a string arrangement on it. And I said, that sounds like Paul. And I looked it up, and it turns out someone else had written the arrangement, but Paul was the conductor. And so
Uh,
he was able to get that
yeah.
meat that you described out of it just by the way he conducted the orchestra, and he definitely had his own life force that went into this thing, So yeah, he was really something. But that's great that you go back that far.
Yeah.
So many people tell me their stories about Paul, and
Well, when I lived with Pacey in Fulham in the first year I was in Deep Purple, and Paul and his then wife lived in the same street. That's how we got to know. And as Purple rose up, the first album came out. I was amazed to go around Paul's place, and he's turning me on to all incredible orchestral music, and yet he saw something in Deep Purple that I hadn't seen. He became a fan. I thought, well, why would he be a fan of this when he's into all these weird ethnic people?
yeah, well, it's
I
all
can't remember.
music, like you said before, it's all
Of
music, and
course, I learned that from him actually.
yeah, and I probably wouldn't have appreciated as much if it wasn't for Paul, because he took me under his wing too, and he taught me a lot of that stuff and about different composers like Stockhausen and the experimental composers, and just think, he also was Miles Davis's roommate, and he taught Miles about all sorts of experimental
Oh,
music that took
I
him on
didn't
the
know.
path of like Bitches Brew and We Want On the Corner, and those Miles Davis albums that were so experimental were very much inspired by the music that Paul turned him on to when they were hanging out together, and working together. So it just goes to show you how those seeds are planted, and that takes you somewhere else. You might not even realize at the moment, and you might be playing something years later, and you thought, this reminds me of someone who planted that seed, in you, whether it was a musician or just an experience that you had.
The art of everything is. I mean, I was in art college before I turned professional.
Hmm.
I've been in a band since I was 15, but I went to art college, and I didn't realize that music was going to be my main thing.
Right.
I thought it was going to be art.
Mm.
I thought, well, thought I'd be doing an art. I'd be painting pictures, but how do you earn money? And I thought, well, advertising. Thinking up catchphrases.
Mm,
There's an art to doing that. It's the same kind of creativity. You've searched corners of your mind you didn't even know you had.
yeah.
And there's no such thing as a bad idea.
Mm,
Ideas are ideas. Sometimes, but they're all ideas.
right.
Some better than others. That's all.
Right. I imagine people have ideas all the time that they just sort of let float by because, well, they're not necessarily in the creative world, or they never thought of themselves as creative. And they thought, well,
Yeah.
that was an idea. But someone else like you might grab that idea and, fashion it into what becomes art, you know.
One hopes.
One
One hopes.
hopes.
We live in hope.
Well, that's a very good way to wrap things up. One hopes, and we live in hope. And I hope that you never stop having that hope and never stop having that creativity. But I think when it's just in you, it's in you. My mother from Alabama used to say, "Whatever is in you is going to come out of you," and in you, it just happens. It happens to be art. It happens to be creativity. It happens to be
Well,
music.
I see it in you too, man. It's so lovely to talk to you.
Absolutely, man. It's
It's the
I
longest conversation we've ever had.
well, we're always working or being busy or something, or there's a million other people in the
Yeah.
room. I
Yeah.
do I do appreciate, Roger, you talking to me today. And I think there's just so much to learn, and I think that having anyone that can express themselves in the way that you can is someone worth listening to, because a lot of people can't quite articulate what they want to say, but they feel it and they do it. But to describe how it feels and that kind of thing it's a challenge. It can be quite a challenge, but it's really wonderful. And
Yeah.
for anybody who might see this, you know, Roger's my brother, Roger's my friend. When you're bass players, you're bass players for life. And I just think the world of you, man. And I'm so glad I got to talk to you. And
I was intrigued. I was very intrigued to actually listen to it. Creativity. Wow. Great. You're doing great. You sound great. You really do. And you look great.
well, I feel good. I feel
You
good.
look younger. You look
I,
young.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'm going backwards like Benjamin Button. Who knows? Yeah, and I think what keeps you young is not having that feeling it's routine. Oh, here it's Monday again, um, the same old thing, and looking forward to when work is over so you can do something you like. When you actually like what you're doing, you can do it forever. And honestly, you could do it for free if there's a way to keep the lights on. We do it because we love doing it, and there's just
Right.
there's an itch that nothing else is going to scratch it like this.
Beautifully put.
Well, I hope you have a great evening, Roger, and give my best to Ian and everybody else. And I can't thank you enough for the time you spent with me today.
Bless you, man.
Okay,
And thank you for the invite. I really appreciate it.
you are always welcome, and I hope when you're back here, stateside, I get to see you, whether it's
Wouldn't
on
that
the
be nice?
on the show
Yeah.
or in Nashville or one of the many places that people like us end up. You never know when you're going to run into a friend when you're a musician.
Yeah.
All right,
I
brother.
look forward to it.
Well, have a good day, and I'll
Bye
talk to you
all.
later.
Cheers, man.
Bye, Raj.